This is the Best or Worst Podcast. And now, here are your hosts, Koji Stephen Sakai and M. Martin Mapoma.
Welcome. This is the Best or Worst Podcast, and I'm Koji.
And I am Martin.
And this is episode 31. I always have to check my notes. I check right before we get on to see what number we are, because we're actually really far in advance right now because of the whole coronavirus thing.
Oh, it's crazy, man. Have we done more episodes because of the coronavirus?
Yeah, because it's a little bit easier for everyone to get together than having to come to my studio and stuff. But we have a guest. We're super excited about having a guest today. Another guest, and this is Archie. He's my friend. He was in one of my movies. He was in the people I slept with, which you can't see. Usually, you see behind me. Right behind me. Yeah. But he'd be one of the people in that picture. But Archie, how are you?
Hey, good. I'm excited to be able to meet up with you guys in this new landscape. But yeah, it's great to see you again. I haven't seen you in person in ages.
I know. We have to get back together when we have to meet up when this is all over.
Yeah, actually, I had a happy hour with a couple of my friends last night, and we ended up it was kind of bizarre because we ended up, breaking out the drinks. Have you done that yet? With anybody?
I have.
Have you?
Yep. I'm on the move right now, just saying I'm looking for
Okay.
Can you mute yourself when you're moving, please?
We're going for a tour of Martin's house.
Yes, we're going to tour of Martin's house. But I haven't done that yet. How was that, hanging out with people?
It was great. It actually surprisingly felt like we were just there hanging out talking. It was kind of funny. Except at one point I did ask my friend to give me a tour of his new house. So he was doing much what Martin is doing, just showing us. But it was interesting. This is a new dynamic I think we're all going to have to.
Wait, was it in person or was it over Zoom?
No, it was actually over FaceTime, but
okay.
The same sort of, yeah.
Oh, I thought you meant getting together in person. Oh, okay.
No. We were just having drinks on, but it felt like we were actually in.
Yeah.
It was the first time I'd actually had drinks with somebody via, video. So, in any event, I digress.
Well, Archie, why don't you tell us where did you grow up?
I was born in Washington D.C. and then I grew up in Northern Virginia.
As opposed to Southern Virginia, because nobody wants to be from Southern
Virginia.
No,
yeah, and Virginia, and people from Virginia get really worked up if you mistake it for West Virginia.
West Virginia is a very different place.
That's a whole different.
West Virginia, man, that is hell. West Virginia, Mountain Mama.
Yeah, wild West Virginia. That's what
I went to school. I went to school in Kentucky, so I'm very familiar with that.
Oh boy, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, my story was actually kind of bizarre. I think it's interesting and bizarre now. So my mom is an immigrant to this country, and she actually came to America, got married, had a kid, and got divorced, all within like less than a year.
Wow.
Very
jeez.
Very American of her. But anyway, she at that juncture was really on hard times and couldn't afford to really feed her own kid. And so now she's alone in this country, doesn't know anybody, and poor, destitute, and just has this job that's really, really meager. She can't really afford to feed me, as I said. So she goes into this church and apparently starts crying, not so much that she was really religious, but that it was offering her some solace that she could go to this church. And the pastor asks her what's wrong, and she kind of, in her broken English, explains it. And so the pastor tells that congregation that at that point, I think he was like asking for help, and I think he's probably asking for financial donations. But in fact, there was a family there that weekend, just happened to be from Pennsylvania. And they said, well, we'll take them. And crazy enough, my mom's like, okay, here. So she gives this like newborn baby to this family from Pennsylvania until she could kind of get acclimated to America, get on her feet, and come get me. So This family in Pennsylvania they were a working farm. So I grew up like tending chickens and pigs and cows and stuff like that, not knowing that I was Asian until my mom actually a few years later came back to get me, and I started going to elementary school. because it was a really like bizarre experience.
How long were you with that family?
A few years. And they were, I mean, we got lucky. My mom got really lucky because they were a wonderful family. I mean, you think about all the things that could have gone wrong with that situation.
Yeah, man.
Especially when it came time to give up the kid, and they were just totally supportive and incredible people. But it gave me the opportunity to kind of grow up in like real farmland. The roosters would go off in the morning, and I would get up and pull on my overalls and go clean out the pig pens and all kinds of stuff. And again, like I said, I'd go run up the silos and push hay down for the cows and all kinds of stuff. It was really amazing. I feel very grateful for that.
Are you still in contact with them?
The short answer is no. I really wish I was, because the last known address and phone number I have for him just kind of dead ends. But I know that they knew that I got into entertainment and stuff like that, and they'd seen me on TV, and I was proud to be able to, let them know that they really contributed to a life evolve.
So did you know, speaking of entertainment, did you know you always wanted to be an actor, or when did that start?
That's an interesting question too, because I remember when I was a little boy and my mom taking me to school, driving me to school every morning. And my favorite topic of conversation was always, tell me more about my dad, because I didn't grow up knowing my biological dad. So she would tell me things. And I remember one of the things that she told me was that, Archie, you're going to realize one day that you have many sisters out in the world, because your father has had different subsequent wives and previous wives, marriages as well. So I remember thinking, this is well before the internet, so I was like, how am I ever going to find this needle in a haystack? But I feel like I kind of always grew up with that lodged in the back of my head. And I think in no small measure did that contribute to my desire to be in the entertainment business, because I do remember thinking to myself when my mom told me that I'm gonna be known one day, and that way they're gonna find me. But growing up in the DC area, I thought that meant, I always thought that I would be in the public milieu, but I always thought that meant that I would be like on Capitol Hill or something and working in politics and being known that way, and then they would find me. But as destiny had it, I ended up getting into the other coast. So that's how we ended up there. But I'm still in touch with them.
What was your first role? Was it?
There were commercials, actually.
Yeah. What was was Power Rangers one of your first big ones, or?
Power Rangers was definitely my first. Power Rangers was my first regular role, and it was really funny because I think at that juncture I was really literally a starving actor. Like I had never, and like I came to California with less than $200 in my pocket, so it was a very lean time. But by the time I got to Power Rangers, I was like waiting tables and really not very good at it at all. I wasn't making any money doing it, but pretty much all the money I made, I was trying to go to acting class with. And it was really hard for me to write this check every month and just get beat up in acting class by this teacher that was just so ruthless on me. And I just couldn't understand why I kept doing it, but I was like kind of masochistic in me just doing it. And I remember when I got the role, I remember thinking, this isn't what I want to do. We're trying to do serious scenes in class, and here I'm going to be a blue Power Ranger, putting on spandex and running around saving the world. But that acting teacher actually said to me, Archie, it's not where you are, it's what you do with where you are. And they're obviously not back then handing out roles, especially series regular roles, to Asian males at that point. So, you quickly forget to take yourself seriously and just have fun doing that. So I had a great time with that. And then that was kind of an on the job training thing for how to work.
When was this?
On the set? Sorry?
When was this?
I think it was the end of 1998 into 1999. So okay. Yeah, over 20
And
years.
you know about the Power Ranger curse, right? Have you ever heard about the Power Ranger curse?
What, that they don't work again?
Well, that they die or they get sick and they get hurt right away.
What? Wait a minute. I was a Power
There's a
Ranger
whole
fan.
curse
I
around
never
Power
heard that.
Rangers.
Really?
Coach,
Yeah,
never heard
I always thought of you, but I was like, well, Archie's alive.
You
Archie's
better not
alive.
say anything.
no,
Yeah.
but he's alive, so you broke the curse. But
Yeah. I hadn't heard that curse, but I'd heard more to the extent that they don't work after they do Power Rangers.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What have you done? What have you done recently?
Well, so I moved to China in 2014 and started working over there. So I was working pretty much exclusively there in Chinese language film and television.
Okay.
But I did want to come back to the States. So I came back last year. I was still working on both sides of the Pacific. I was doing a TV show in China when the virus came, and then we kind of shut it down in the middle of production, and we had to kind of retreat and come back here. So the virus hadn't yet come this way, and came back to the States, and I just I started up. I got booked for a TV show, this HBO Warner Brothers show in New York, and so we went out there to shoot it. And I remember thinking, even though I had been in quarantine in China for a little bit, I remember thinking, I guess everything's fine because people were carrying on with their lives with no thought at all, even though coronavirus was in the news. And even me, I got seduced into thinking, well, I guess everything's okay. You know, we're going to the shops and the museums and the subways and shows and all that, all in tight quarters. And then they shut that show down in the middle. So oddly, and then the China show resumed. But at that juncture, I couldn't make it back because they shut their borders to foreigners 2 days before I was supposed to leave. So they ended up having to get a body double to replace, to shoot the rest of my scenes. And I'm going to have to shoot inserts, close-ups on a green screen whenever I'm able to get back there. And so we're still waiting for the HBO show to give us word too. But obviously New York was one of the epicenters. So
you're basically telling us that the coronavirus is all your fault. Is that what I'm hearing?
well, I put it in my suitcase. Well, you heard it here.
All right. Well, we're at that point in the show where Martin and I decide whether we want to hear the best or worst moment of Archie's life. So Martin, unmute yourself and tell us what you're thinking. Are you thinking best or worst moment?
Oh man, you're gonna kill me. You know, I kind of want to go. Let's go with the best moment.
Okay, everything's. Are we gonna pick the best moment every time until the end of this whole thing?
All right, no, okay, let's go.
No, let's pick. I'm not criticizing you. I'm just gonna ask you. I'm just asking you.
No, but you're right, because it seems like, you know, Archie's had a pretty amazing life, and it seems like
that's pretty
I
generous.
feel like maybe if we asked what the worst moment, I mean, you know, your mom taking you to a church and getting adopted by an Amish family in Pennsylvania.
There's an Amish.
I'm kidding.
Okay,
I'm kidding.
I actually disagree. I love the idea of the. I want to hear a happy moment. Actually, I agree with you on this one. So maybe in the future we'll choose a bad moment.
Okay, so best moment.
You're agreeing with me?
I'm agreeing with you. Yeah.
Me, best moment. Okay.
Yes.
I feel I was trying to give it some thought, and when I was in high school and growing in my formative years, teenager and stuff like that, I feel like I was always I guess I grew up kind of insecure and not really very confident in my own like sense of self, and so for some odd reason, when I went to college, in order to try to, I don't know what I was thinking, but in order to combat that, I decided to run for student body, student government. And so, I ended up running for student.
In college or high school?
In college,
College,
because
okay.
I left high school still feeling really like not very sure of myself. And I got into this frame of mind where I thought I I wanted to try to scare myself every day into doing something that was very uncomfortable for me. So when I went to college and I was finally free from the bounds of my family and my, kind of controlling father and all that stuff, I for some reason decided to befriend 10 people every day on this new college campus. And by the end of
Where was this?
In my freshman year of college at George Mason University. And
Okay.
and by the end of like the first year, I realized I knew so many people that I thought, and then somebody suggested to me that maybe I should run for student government. I was thinking about, I was really, really scared to say it out loud, but somebody suggested to me that I could run for a student senate seat. And I was really I was so insecure. I was kind of petrified of saying that out loud. But then when I told another friend of mine, he was, Archie, I think that's sweet, but I think you should aim higher. I think you should try to run for vice president. And I was now, I was really, really insecure about that. And I had no experience in it. And where I went to school, I feel like it was, the people that were and had, the big man on campus sort of thing were all, white guys. I mean, I grew up in, a pretty conservative area in Virginia. So I was really anxious about doing it, but for some reason I ended up hobbling together this effort and recruiting all these friends of mine to help me. And it was a very strenuous, exhausting race, but luckily I was elected vice president. But I'm getting this long-winded story is getting to this one moment that is forever captured in my mind, and that's that after all the din of this crazy race, this big election, I went to university, tens of thousands of people, so it was like a little city of itself. And so I was when you're plastering pictures of your face all over the university, everyone's going to know if you lose or if you win or lose. There's no hiding behind it. It's kind of like doing a backflip off a diving board. You have to commit to it completely or you can't do it. If you try to half-ass it, you're just going to fall on your face. So that was like my first growth lesson to me as a teenager and my first venture out. And I remember after the election, the day after the election, there was now quiet on the university campus. And I was walking to the student union. I had it was a slight drizzle. It was quiet, and I remember holding an umbrella, walking to the student union. Now I'm by myself, and I just had this calm and this internal sense of like fulfillment. And somebody from who I didn't even know, actually, from one of the sitting in the window of one of the resident dorms, called out to me and just congratulated me. And that is a singular moment that I think has that I've tried to compartmentalize in later chapters of my life, because I think that moment gave me the confidence to embark on other chapters of my life, including obviously being an actor, because that's an outrageous thing to say too, especially when you're from an Asian family and you're the only son, and like it's. I took maybe it doesn't seem as outrageous now, but it sure seemed outrageous coming from my perspective then.
That's amazing. So you did the Bill Clinton playbook. Did you know that Bill Clinton would stand outside his cafeteria, the cafeteria at his college, and he would meet 3 people every day. And he would
is that right?
And so that was his big trick, was that like later, like even like 20 years later, if you met one of those guys, he could tell him everything about that person. Still, he had this. Dude,
that's it's like next level, like, thinking,
It's funny because I was supposed to, I mustn't mean to cut you off, Martin. I was supposed to, I was just invited to give the keynote graduation speech at my high school, actually. Which was also coincidentally going to be at the venue of my university, which is like, the neighborhood university, the local university, which is a tremendous, honor for me to want to do it. But what I wanted to say at the speech before, now it's been abbreviated, of course, obviously, because it can be like a virtual speech. But I really feel strongly, and what I would want to say to the senior class is that you have to scare yourself and take a risk and do things that you. And the good thing about it at that point for me was I feel like if you're only like, it's like walking a tightrope that's only 2 inches off the ground. I didn't have a lot to lose because I didn't have anything anyway. So you can, you at that place in my life, I thought you've got to take the risk. I mean that financially, not
Personally.
Yeah, I didn't have wife and kids and stuff to support, but I feel just in terms of my own, your mental constitution, you need to like take a risk. Take a risk. That's the thing I think I learned from all that. And I feel like if I can, if I'm honest with myself, that part of my personality, I probably have even slowed it up on a bit. Is probably not uncommon when you get older. Yeah. I guess.
No, that was an amazing story. So, I mean, do you remember how much you won by, or do you have any?
So you did win.
You won, right?
I did win, yeah. and I did win. And the next year, I won the presidency. And by that point, not to toot my own horn, but I won the presidency pretty handily because I think I was already expected to win since I was already vice president. But it wasn't anywhere near the same, the same. What's the word for it? Just because
thrill?
The thrill, yeah, but also just the growth experience. I remember the people I ran against when I was running for vice president. They were fraternity presidents, or they had a big presence, whatever. And except for me, this little Asian kid who is preposterous enough to say that.
That's to say a lot for the South. So you were probably the first Asian American president of a majority white student major college university.
Yeah. I mean, I was told that before I won that they used to call it the White Boys Club.
Yeah, I say that only because my younger brother, went to Morehead State, and he was he was president of the university, of the student government for maybe 2 years. And I remember it was a huge deal that he was the first black student ever elected president of student government, and this was back in the 80s, which was unheard of at the time.
Yeah.
Wait, so, you guys
kudos.
Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say kudos to you, Archie.
Thank you.
Because that's no small feat, dude. That's small feat.
I appreciate that, and I feel like that is if I were to think, when you ask me what's your best moment, I have to think about the moment that kind of defines a lot of the just the tone of my life. I think that sort of take a chance and see what happens.
Yeah.
I want to say two things. Two things I was going to say. One is your guys' college experiences were way different than mine. I just basically drank all the time. I went to Santa Barbara, and I just drank. I literally I went to UCSB and I literally just drank. I didn't even know there's a student government. I was right when you were talking, I was like, wait, do we have a student government? Because I was so drunk all the time. I don't even remember there being such a thing. I mean, I'm sure there was. I just don't. I was too, intoxicated to that. And then the second thing was, for some reason, I don't know if I'm just making this up in my head or something on one of our screenings that we did, the many screenings that the people I slept with was in. But I seem to remember that you you wanted to be a politician. I know we talked about that because you were in DC and that's the industry, right? But is that still something you think about, or is that something that you're totally out of your life?
No, I did. I remember, yeah. And Jefferson Lee was a politician.
Yeah, he was a politician. So. But in a screening, I think you talked about it though at a screening.
Yeah, it was very serendipitous because I did want to be. So I was in college, and after college, I remember getting invited to having dinner with the mayor of Fairfax and stuff like that, because I think he was trying to, nudge me into running for council or something like that and so at the time, it seemed like the sensible next step after college for me to, I didn't know what else to say at the tender young age of 21, what I was supposed to do. So I thought I was going out saying, I'm going to go to law school, and then after I after I graduate, after I finish law school, I'm going to go and see if I can become a speechwriter for the for the president, whoever the president was at that point. You know, I was just it was just a lofty sort of thought. But as far as actually running for office, I will tell you that I'm very, 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 very grateful that I had that in college, because I got it out of my system. Like, and now I have zero desire to ever. I think there's always a part of you that wants to scratch that itch. And in truth, I think that's one of the reasons I'm still in the acting game. You know, I've had some great experiences. I've gone to amazing places and met amazing people, and just been able to, you know, expand my life in a way I think I never would have if I hadn't chosen this occupation. But at the same time, I think there's that creative spirit and that adventure that, you know, for reasons that probably, you know, as I'm coming up in this business as an Asian American male, and they're not yet crafting, the studios are not yet crafting product for people that look like me. So the roles that I ended up playing and the career that I ended up developing for myself, which I'm grateful for, don't get me wrong, but those characters don't tend to be the ones that drive the narrative, and they're not the ones that drive the financing of a project. So that you're not really going to have, you know, star quality, you know, characters to draw on. I think I forgot what I was talking about. Were you saying
about being a politician? but I do want to mention, you know, that there is that the thing about Archie, and the thing about even myself, is that, you know, when we were doing it, when we were in this industry in the beginning, there was like really nobody. There wasn't a lot. I mean, at my like writing program, there wasn't a lot of Asian American people with me.
Yeah.
You know? And with Archie, he was, you know, like I could just say he's the Asian guy on TV right now, and everyone's like, oh, the guy on CSI, and like it was literally like there were so few, you know, that were like
we all knew each other.
Yeah, like that we all knew each other. Yeah.
Wait, he wasn't Archie? You were on CSI?
Yeah.
Which one?
I met this woman one time. She's like, you were on CSI? Oh my God, I love CSI. I love CSI. I watch it all the time. Who are you?
Were you a regular on that show?
No, I was a recurring character on the show for 10 years, 10 seasons.
Which one?
The original one, the Vegas.
The original? Oh,
yeah.
I did CSI New York, that's why.
Yeah. No, it was and you know, again, I'm so grateful for them having kept me off the streets for a cool decade.
That's cool.
Yeah, it was really nice. But at that point, you know, I felt like, you know, I think it's probably a good time to go. And so I started dipping my toe in the water, going to Asia, even though I didn't grow up speaking Mandarin. So I didn't really, I don't know what I was getting into, but, you know, they were kind of welcoming me, and I got to play the roles that I didn't ever get to play, save people I slept with. So people I slept with was an Asian American male love interest. And, I mean, I remember I was really, really, I was really, advocating for myself to get that role, if you remember, because you just don't have those opportunities very much, you know. And I was so glad to be able to do that, but unfortunately there's just not enough of that. So then I went to China and was able to start working, even though it wasn't a language I grew up speaking, but you kind of learned it on the job. And I remember thinking, so I did another TV show called Chicago PD before I left for China, and I remember them telling me that, you know, that they thought there would be more for me to do with NBC, and maybe I should stick around. And I was like, I just can't believe it. I've been hearing that, you know, they're going to move towards, you know, more inclusion and diversity and all this stuff, and it's just not happened for all these years. I got to go to China. So then I go to China in 2014, and sure enough, I see that they're greenlit, fresh off the boat, Crazy Rich Asians. Ken Jeong has his own show. I was like, So then I came back. So
how's it working out for you now?
Well, I just was just getting started with that new show in the HBO Max show that I mentioned that has been suspended, of course, just like everything else.
But TV is way more diverse now. I mean, TV.
Yeah.
I mean, film features are still not very diverse, but TV is they're looking for content. I mean, and they're much more open to new ideas and new places. I mean, I've had a ton of meetings lately, and the thing I keep hearing from people is they want things that impact the world, which is really words for I want diversity. I want something that could play outside of America, right? And the best way is to have like different characters and different stories, and so they want that, and then they want things that will that have a message. And so a lot of that like fills in a lot of the things that we wanted to do. So that's why we need to work together again. So
I tell you, it's time. We were just getting warmed up back then.
Yeah, I know.
You know? It's time.
But what I really and we'll have to end it soon. But one of the best things about your story, what I really loved about your story is usually very rarely do I see a story that kind of plays on the next steps of your life. And then what I really liked about your story was that it, taking that leap of faith of being a politician or being a student leader at your school and running for it, and taking that same kind of leap and moving out to Hollywood with $200, and making it that's there's a connection there that I think is really amazing. Martin, do you have any last
really
words?
Cool.
Thank you.
I think it's you seem really determined. I think it's it's a testament to who you are as a person. That growing up on the farm and then getting reunited with your mom again, and then going to the whole George Mason thing is crazy because I can relate to that story because of what it was like for me at Kentucky. And like Koji, I mean, except I knew my university had a student government. But the thought of running for office, especially then, wasn't heard of. And I can't imagine that George Mason was that different to Kentucky. So hats off to you, man.
Thank you.
That's pretty incredible.
And I do think you should run for office at some point in the future. And if you do, I need to be on your staff. I'm just going to put that on. Okay. I'll write your speeches or I'll do something. But I'm going to.
We have so much to do. We better get going. Huh?
No, I'm just saying if you ever decide to run for office, I'll be the person behind you. Okay.
Thank you, Koji. Might have a few skeletons now, but
well, that's okay. That's
part of it.
I have a quick question. Are you now fluent in Mandarin?
Let me say yes and no. It depends on what we're talking about, because I was actually asking a friend of mine what fluent means, because I don't think fluency necessarily means mastery, right? I'm not.
No.
I don't think you need to like discuss these like highbrow philosophical things in order to be fluent. But my friend asked me, can you go a whole day without speaking English? And I can. So I guess that's one level of, being able to,
Yeah. And another thing about that is also, I would say at night when you dream, do you dream in Mandarin or do you dream in English? Or do you go back and forth?
I'm mostly English, obviously, but I have in Chinese. And I did hear this. If you get in an argument with someone and you're yelling at them in Chinese, then that does actually demonstrate a level of ability, because that's actually happens, and then you don't, because when you're arguing with someone, it's a very accelerated sort of thing. So what's coming out of your mouth is often you don't have time to translate it.
Think about it.
Yeah. So it's been a real adventure. I never ever thought I would be going over there, but I did realize, if I'm being honest, that I got so good, I think, at pretending that I was fitting into the mainstream fabric of Virginia, that I didn't really have much realization that I was Chinese, that I was Asian. So I didn't speak any of it. I actually went to China not to work as much as it was to learn the language and build the bridge back to my own heritage, because I didn't grow up with any sense of
reconnection.
Yeah.
Like reconnection. Yeah, I have a theory about that. It's because I think I was the same way too. I moved from Africa to Kentucky.
Oh, wow. That's quite a journey.
Back in '84. But anyway, so I reconnected with who I was when I left Kentucky.
Mm-hmm.
Because I tried so hard to fit in,
to assimilate.
I literally lost who I was. I really feel like I lost who I was as a person, and it was crazy. And then I maybe got a little bit of it back, and I was in Chicago for a while. But then once I came out here, it was and it might be age might be part of it as well. But yeah, so I think it's that going to China, that's kind of a cool deal for you. I think that's cool.
Yeah, that's a very similar situation to mine, Martin. Like, you're here and you just want, we're human. We want to be, accepted and, all that stuff. So
yeah, this is why I grew up in San Gabriel Valley.
Do what now?
I grew up in the San Gabriel Valley. I never had that.
Yeah.
When I looked around, everyone was Taiwanese. So,
That's right. Yeah.
everyone's
yeah.
Taiwanese, and I'm like, wait, I don't see anybody like me on TV, but everyone cool around me is Asian. So I'm good.
Yeah, I definitely didn't have that issue in Kentucky. I didn't look around and see Zambians everywhere.
All right. Well,
there were two guys. Actually, there were two guys. One guy I went to high school with. They ended up going to college in Kentucky, and I barely saw him. And then there was one Zambian guy who I saw, and I was just awful to him. I still think about it, you know. Oh yeah, it was really bad. I was trying so hard to fit in, and it was, you know, I'll never forget. You know, he said to me, I can't remember what context we were in talking about. I think we were in the international students. They had some kind of gathering, and he was talking about him being from Zambia and me being from Zambia. He's like, oh, maybe, you know, we should hang out or something like that. And I remember saying, being a little bit sort of, hey, I want to try and fit in. And he was like, but we are brothers. And I'll never forget it. And, you know.
I think I had a similar experience, Martin. I think I'm remembering.
Really?
Like that. Yeah. It just goes to show you, you know, like at that age.
It was awful.
Yeah.
Wow, you guys have a totally
awful.
Different experience than I did. But actually,
but I cringe when I think about it, Archie. It was, you know, to this day, yeah, I think about, yeah. Well, if I can find that guy now, I'll tell him I was so sorry.
It's the same thing in Asian American. When I first went into the industry, and I'd see other Asian Americans who are like you, Martin, who are saying like, "Oh, I don't want to hang out. I don't want Asian projects because I don't want to be seen as Asian." And I would be like, "I thought we're brothers, you know, because like we're both Asian, and we're like the only Asian people here. Like literally, we're the only Asian people in the room." And I thought we were gonna connect because to me, like we're on the same team. But then, you know, that was one of the changes that have changed a lot since back then. Now, like I walk in a room and there's other Asian Americans, and there's no need for us to be like we're on different sides of the like it's not like we're brothers, but we're like at least like they're not feeling like, oh, I can't be Asian because I don't want to be seen as or I don't want to do an Asian project because I don't want to see as Asian.
Yeah.
So that's totally changed. But we're running out of time. So thank you, Archie. Yep. Thank you, Martin. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, you guys.
Thank you to everybody.
And please rate,
Archie,
review.
So happy to have you here.
Listen, I gotta ask you, how do you get these cool backgrounds? Because I obviously need to get. Where do you?
Are you on an iPad or a computer?
This is computer.
You go to a virtual There's a virtual background thing.
Is there?
You know, on the top of your screen it says more. Hit that button. I can't do it on my computer, but I can do it on my iPad. So I give it to the fridge.
I'll check it out.
Koji, I'm floating.
I know.
Oh my God.
Hands in the cloud.
I want one of those.
Clouds.
So please rate, review, subscribe to our podcast. Please, if you want to, we would love to
talk
to you. So please, if you want to talk to us, please let us know and come on our socials. It's Facebook, which is Guy Code Pod.
Yeah.
Not Guy Code. That's my other podcast. I'm
hey, that's how it starts.
Best or Worst Pod, or on Instagram or Facebook. Hit us up. Let us know. Follow us. Tell a friend. Tell an enemy. So thank you guys again. Thank you for listening.
All right.
And hope you guys have a good day, night, or whenever you guys are listening. Take care, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Thank you so much. Take care now.
Archie, pleasure to meet you, man.
You as well.